Well, Joel, welcome back to CockTalk,
Yeah.
the podcast.
Back to CockTalk, the podcast.
I have a special gift from my wife for Joel here.
Oh, shit.
Here you are.
Yes. Oh, man.
It's fresh sourdough for my wife.
This sourdough is so good.
Yeah.
Dude, the last one I got from Anna, I stopped by the house. I dropped eggs off for you guys, and we traded for the sourdough. Only half a loaf made it back to the house, and you only live a couple miles away.
So good. She's been doing sourdough for about 2 years now, and it's gotten really good. All right, so
Thank you. Thank her for
I'm
that.
also sharing a mixed drink here. We've got a Jameson cold brew that I was at the liquor store and I saw it and I couldn't help myself because I like cold brew and I like whiskey. And we've just added a little bit of chocolate liqueur to it, just to give it a little sweetness, a little chocolate.
Cacao.
Cacao. Creme
Is that
de
the same
cacao.
thing?
Creme
Is
de
chocolate
cacao.
and cacao the same thing? Is
Yes.
cocoa and cacao
Cheers,
the
mate.
same thing? Oh, cheers.
All
Cheers,
right.
Cheers.
So you'll notice we don't have Mark here today. Where is Mark?
He's in Holland?
Oh, he's on the other side of the state.
Yeah. Holland, Michigan, not Holland.
Yeah.
What, Denmark? Is it in
Is it-
Denmark?
Ho-
Where's Holland?
Holland is, so technically it's the Netherlands, and that's a country, but sometimes people call it Holland.
But it,
I don't know if there is a Holland,
Okay,
Denmark.
so
There might be a Holland, Denmark. I don't know.
This out. Hold on. We're going to fact check this real quick.
Have you been to Denmark? What makes you
is-
think it's in Denmark?
No, I don't know. I just assume that all of the Netherlands are Denmark. I don't know why. There's South Holland and North Holland in the Netherlands. Where's Denmark in relation to all of this?
Denmark is its own country.
Oh, Holland's a country?
No, the Netherlands is a country.
Oh.
Holland is
Is
like,
it like a state?
uh,
County?
province, maybe more like
province?
Yeah.
What's the difference between a province and a state?
I don't know. Ask Canada.
Damn it, Mark. We needed Mark here to know this. Damn. The one time we need
They're just
him.
not united.
They're not united. the separatists.
So
That's funny.
Mark's not here. We've got Joel and myself, Tyler here. We're both business guys.
Mm.
And I thought this would be a good episode to talk a little bit about our small businesses. This is kind of unique to just me and Joel. And so we've got some questions that we're going to kind of fire at each other and get to know each other a little bit better.
Mm-hmm.
So tell me, you didn't always do your own business, right? What is your business? Let's start with that.
Yeah. So I have two other partners in the business with me, but it's a digital marketing agency, highly focused on content creation. So we do website builds, social media management, digital marketing, paid and organic. So, if you're a business owner and you see terms like SEO and meta advertising, like that's what we do. And don't shoot me if you're the person that's like, I can't stand all these ads on my Facebook. It is me. I am a part of that ecosystem, but it's how I make a living. So do what you gotta do.
Now, you obviously didn't always do that. What made you get into starting something up with a couple other guys?
Yeah. So originally, Nick, who we had on the podcast, oh my gosh, was that a month and a half, 2 months ago now?
Episode 4,
right before Super Bowl, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, it was a while ago. But Nick and I originally got into business, doing marketing. I've had a series of content creation businesses over the years, photography, videography for weddings and families and stuff like that, and kind of grew into. Funny enough, you make a lot of connections with these families, and then these families own businesses, and they're like, "Hey, do you do corporate stuff?" And that's kind of how I got I started into corporate content creation. And then we were doing that, and I remember this company came to us and they were like, "Hey, do you guys run ads?" And the answer was no, but I told them yes. And then I went to Nick afterwards and I said, "Hey, I already said yes. They're ready to sign the contract. I know you've done ads before. You want to run these? I can give you a couple $100 a month." And he goes, "Well, I'm not going to say no to money." So yeah. And that's how we started a marketing business.
Fake it till you make it, right?
Literally fell into it.
Yeah.
And did pretty well. Started working with another agency out of Texas that was bigger than us. And we got so ingrained in working so well together with that other agency that we kind of just had this point where it's like, this makes so much more sense if we're just working together. So we ended up merging our companies and then became partnership at the new agency.
Did you go to schooling for this type of thing? How did you learn? How did you get into it?
No. So like my first like semi-legitimate marketing position was social media manager for a nonprofit, probably like 12 years ago now.
Oh, wow.
And then from there it was, I worked with churches in various creative roles and things like that, but it wasn't anything formal with social media or digital marketing by any means. And it wasn't until like we really fell into it with that other business that it was like, hey, this is legitimate. Like I have a job with this now. We provide reporting and all this stuff. It was all just kind of what I learned on my own from owning my own businesses.
How do you manage your time differently now that you're, running your own company with a couple other people versus what you were doing before?
Yeah, it's interesting. When I originally came to the company, there was a lot more people than there is now. It just changes on digital marketing, the landscape, introduction of AI, like it allows us to just streamline so much. So for me, I have the luxury of working from home. The other partners live in Texas, so everything's done remotely.
Yeah.
But I do my best Monday through Friday. I try to get to my desk by 8 a.m. and sometimes I'm there until 10 p.m. at night. But for the most part, like it's just you have tasks that have to get done by certain dates. So as long as they're done, it doesn't really matter how much you're at your desk. If you're responding to clients in time and you're finishing the jobs that you need to get done and the results are there, then it's kind of whatever you want it to be.
Great.
Yeah.
Now your business is a little different from mine. You have other partners. I'm just a solo business owner.
Yeah. I don't know how you do that.
Is there any sort of, I think this would bother me, but do you have any issues of like who gets control of what or who makes what decisions? Is there any kind of butting of heads on who makes certain decisions?
No, there hasn't ever been. It's always been, I've been lucky in that sense because there are a lot of people out there that have partners that they kind of had to have because they needed financial backing or whatever, and then they're constantly butting heads. But the partners I've always had in business have always been kind of in the same mindset as me, where it's like there isn't an ego here. We both want what's best for the company. We both want to make a shit ton of money and have control over our own schedule. Like we all want the same things. Our approach just may be a little bit different, but there's a mutual respect to each other's approach. There are some wins that you get. There's some times that you need to concede, and not like I have to do this so I can get something later on. It's you respect that person and their opinion, and if someone says very strongly, I believe that we should be doing this or we need to spend money here, that you respect that and you go with it. And that's kind of the partnership, is that if you fail, you fail together. If you win together, but like you're both in it together.
Good.
So how do you do that though with no one else? Like I have a hard time personally with like staying motivated in business and on my own business. If somebody, like if I have a client in their business, I can work on their business all day long and always be thinking of things. But for my own business, I'm never really thinking about growing my own business. That's what my partners are so good at. They're always like, we need to do this, we need to do this. So how do you do that as a sole, owner of a franchise?
It's probably a little bit more stressful doing it solo versus having some people that are there to kind of help guide and walk you through some aspects of it. This is maybe corny, but honestly, my biggest motive is like self-motivation from having a family. Like I look at those little girls and my wife, and it's our only income. It has to work, and the only way it's going to work is if I have drive. So I get drive from that. Yeah.
So even though that there are days where it's like, I'm sure you probably
it doesn't matter.
Up super late and you're up super early.
It doesn't matter what I want. Yeah. It doesn't matter.
Yeah. I like that. I'm in the same mindset, but I know a lot of people struggle with, regardless of what's on the line, they still have a hard time with motivation.
Yeah. It's definitely hard. I mean, I don't want it to sound easy. I'll be working late some nights trying to get some stuff done, but it's definitely worth it all, I think, in the end, which we'll go into. But
so what, I think we've touched on it a little bit in previous episodes, but you own a drywall company, a franchise, and you went from a job that did you seemingly you paid pretty well, and that you had plenty of work, like you were really good at, and then kind of launched into your own thing. Like, what was the ultimate reason for launching into your own thing?
I would say probably just lack of having more responsibilities than I really knew I could take on. The company that I was with was telling me every year, like, oh, next year's the year, next year we're going to give you this position, next year's the pay raise, et cetera, et cetera. And after 3 years of hearing that, I was like, you know what? I'm done. You keep saying that, it's not working. I want to grow. I want more in life. This isn't giving it to me. And so I went to another company and had an interview, brought it back to them, and they were like, well, don't leave, this brand. How about you buy this franchise and you can run it? And so that's ultimately how I came to own the franchise, is just from maybe pushing back at them and saying, hey, I'm motivated. I'm going to go get it. And if you're not going to be there, I'll get it from somewhere else.
So I guess what was the ultimate incentive, aside from just owning the brand, for you to like was it, kind of control over like your day-to-day tasks? Was it, financial stability or control? I guess not stability, because you risked a lot opening your own franchise.
Yeah, and it's expensive. I mean, it costs money to do it. I would say, I'm sorry, what's the question again? What was the key motivator to leave where you were at and do this own thing? Yeah, it's not, it may be part of it is control. I would say part of it now is that I really love the control of owning my own business instead of having people tell me where to go and what to do. But before, I had pretty big flexibility. I managed many projects in different cities and showed up when I needed to, organized guys to show up, to do other tasks. So I was stuck in, more or less a 9 to 5. Whereas now I'm maybe more like a 8 to 10.
Okay.
Yeah. Not solid, but it's on and off.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, the financial part is definitely a big thing. I think probably the biggest thing for me is I get to determine how much I make now. My income is not set on the company that I work for determining how much I'm going to make and how much raise I get every year. I determine how much work I want to do. I set the prices that the customers have to agree or not agree to, and that's what makes me the money.
So, you're talking about this as you were leaving this, large brand, and they were like, hey, take over this franchise instead. So this is a subsidiary company inside.
Yeah, it's a kind of a partner company. It's among one of the many things that they own.
So is there a safety net then? If you're having a hard time finding work, financials are coming in, like.
No, it's solely owned by me.
Okay.
The only thing, corporate provides coaching and they take royalties, and I get to operate underneath their national brand. And with that gives a bit of trust and like built in, where when I first walk in the door, they know that there's over 120 of us across the nation. And if something goes wrong, they can go higher than me. Even though I am the sole owner of this business, if there were extenuating circumstances, they know that they are protected.
Gotcha. Okay. Interesting. So with your kind of setting your own financial boundaries, so you have control over all of the finances from the company. You said you control your own pay, you control the pay of your employees, where the money goes, where it comes in from.
Yeah, the only thing I can't control is if guys get sick. There's no money coming in if guys aren't working. I can't control weather if we're iced in or whatever. I can't control who calls and when they call and what city they call from. I do have my SEO page. I do my Google ad PPC campaigns, and I run those every month. But I can't guarantee that anything is going to come in.
Right. You do all the ads and SEO and everything
There's
yourself?
a company that manages it. Sorry, it's not you. But it's a big corporate thing.
Super rude.
They've got their own company that manages everybody,
Sure. Yeah, consistency in branding.
Yeah, they're familiar with everybody's, it's all the same, just different owners.
Yeah, makes sense.
So
very cool.
all right, well, should we talk a little bit about, I don't think I ever said at the beginning of the episode, but we're going to break this up into different segments. This first part here was more or less intro, how we're getting to know each other's brands and companies and how we got started. I really want to go into now, what are some of the shittiest things that's happened? Because this is where being a homeowner, or not a homeowner, a business owner really...
Homeowner too.
Yeah, well, that's true. You do deal with some shit
yeah,
as a homeowner.
I was literally dealing with all of the plumbing drains in my upstairs bathroom just this morning. So.
What happened with your plumbing drain? Side note, what happened with your plumbing?
I woke up and went into our full bathroom upstairs, and the toilet's completely clogged, and it's at the top with water. And I was like, you got 2 small kids that don't understand clogs, so at any moment they're just going to press that button and
it's gone. It's over.
It's over. Literally over. And then the kids' toothpaste, I don't know what it is about kids' toothpaste. It doesn't break down like adult toothpaste into that foam. So it just goops and gunks up and clogs up the sink upstairs. So I literally was at 7:30 this morning. I got both my hands like covered in all kinds of kinds of things.
Oh my gosh. Okay, so back to your business. What are some of your trials? I really want to get into. We do find, I think collectively, I can fairly say that we like being business owners.
Yeah.
But with that, you got to trudge through some mud. Tell me a little bit about your mud.
Man, yeah. I mean, our agency over the past probably 6-8 months has gone through a huge shift from where it was when I came in. When I came into the business, we had, I think, 6 partners.
Wow.
Or 7, and we're down to 3 now.
How does that happen? Did they buy out? Did they sell their portion of their company? Did they just leave? And how do you restructure that?
Yeah. So in our circumstance, the obviously economic situation that we're currently in, a lot of business, the first thing that they do when money gets tight is pull marketing spend, which is the worst thing that you could do because you start losing on business. And if every business does that, then it creates such an opportunity for anyone still spending money in marketing to buy up so much of the PPC, the keywords, and everything for a hell of a lot cheaper than what they were when all their competitors were spending money. But that's what happens. And so we didn't have new leads coming in. And the leads that we did have were pulling back on services or ending contracts altogether because they couldn't afford it, or they weren't seeing the results that they needed to keep moving forward with it. So with that, it got to a point where it was like, hey, you can stay and work for free, or you can dissolve your partnership and you can go somewhere else and get a full-time job. But if you stay, there ain't no money to pay you. You know, we can either work through it and, start making money again on the other side. Or you could say like, hey, that's all we got, and you're gonna have to leave. Which is fine. I understood that. Like, I was.
So that option was presented to you as well.
Yeah. And for me, it was, I'm the director of operations. So every contract with every client has my name on it. Mm-hmm. So I feel like there's a certain level of responsibility that I have for that contract that was created. Sure. So I told them, I said, even if I get paid $0, have to do a full-time job, I'm going to do this until all of our contracts have seen their terms all the way through, or they cancel early. But I'm not canceling our contracts early because I feel it's a personal responsibility.
When was this restructure?
It was just probably 4 or 5 months ago.
Okay, so that's recent.
Yeah, so it was slowly. All the partners had said like, hey, I've got to get paid, so I have to go make money somewhere. And if I can't do it here, then that's it, which I completely understand. Like, there's definitely no hard feelings, but it was just kind of here's my partnership ticket, and I got to go do something else. And so we're the only ones left. We're, still working on it. Like, there's still it's like you think about like the analogy of like climbing a hill, and that's really tough. But we'd gotten to the point where we were in a trench at the bottom of the hill. So we were climbing out of the trench to then start uphill. Yeah. And that's, we're still there. We're still climbing out. Like, but that's the ebb and flow of owning a business. Like, if you don't have a stomach for it, you'll never survive, because that's going to happen.
Yeah. I would say that you need to be prepared for any storm. Now, what do you think when you're going through these storms? How would you say this is affecting other aspects of your life?
I mean, it definitely adds stress. I'm not an anxious person. I usually don't experience a lot of stress except for like very specific situations.
Okay.
Financial situations just happens to be one of them. So when all of this is going on, and like our whole board, all of our partners are like, yeah, I mean, bank account's getting empty. There's no money to pay anyone next month. I was like, oh shit, like I bring in most of the money for our house.
Mm-hmm.
So if I all of a sudden don't have a paycheck, I got to go get a job at McDonald's, like until I find something. There is no I can wait a month or 2 months.
You'd
like,
have to
I
drop
have to do it
BJJ.
now. Right, that's it. I'll go work at Aldi or something, or Kroger. That's a northern grocery store thing, for those in the South. But it was kind of that serious where it was like, all right, I got to have a backup plan just in case this goes to zero. I got to have a backup plan ready. Have you ever experienced like that yet with your franchise?
I would say every year. I mean, drywall is it's kind of a seasonal thing, in that right after tax season, everybody starts doing drywall, and that'll go all through the summer, through the fall, right up till about Christmas. And then there's a dead season.
I don't think I've ever heard someone say, I just got my tax return back. I can't wait to start my drywall
Well,
project.
it's like when people start doing home renovations, they get their tax return and they're like, let's redo the bathroom. Let's redo the kitchen. Let's, update our bedroom. Oh, we have these cracks we've been wanting to take care of. Let's take care of it. So the time frame between December and, March is really slow.
Crazy to think on how more stable the economy would be if people just had that money all year round instead of being stolen from throughout the year by the government.
Yeah, right. I know. Imagine that.
Funny concept.
Defund the IRS.
There you go.
Abolish the IRS.
That just
please.
got us blocked on multiple social media sites. And YouTube.
Sorry, IRS. Don't care.
No, not even a little bit. So, I mean,
we save year round for that. Well, I mean, that's the season. I've never missed a day. So, but it is slower, and it may be that instead of having a full day scheduled, I've only got a half day. But, generally speaking, the rest of the year is very profitable, and that there's savings that pushes us through if it is slow. So
with you being the only owner, right? And you're handling, like you were saying earlier, you're handling all the marketing stuff too, working with that agency. When you only have half a day of work and you get it done, what do you do with the rest of your day?
Play with the kids. I'm a gamer. I'll play some video games. I'm not proud of the amount of time I put into video games, but I do it. I'm just at home with the family. I love it. My family loves it. I was not able to do that before. So that's a huge plus for me to be able to be home and be present and play with the kids. And I love making big extravagant meals. Just tonight I did a fish fry for
those photos
for everybody.
I haven't had fried fish in a long time.
Dad, we every year, this is a season of Lent. Every year we've gone to this Catholic church and had a fish fry where they, it's all you can eat. You pay $20 or something a person, and you just eat your fill. We didn't want to go because it was an absolute chaotic event last year. There was hundreds of people in this church, and so all my family typically comes to my house for food because I care about how it tastes,
right?
And the rest of them really don't. So,
white people.
So they're texting like, we shouldn't go this year. Let's have Tyler make it. And it's like, oh yeah, Tyler makes good food. And I'm like, okay, I guess I'm frying up some fish. Come on over.
Do you typically participate in Lent?
No.
Okay.
But it's like kind of just a seasonal thing, like, oh, it's the fish fry because Catholics can still eat fish. And yeah, my in-laws both grew up Catholic too. So maybe that's a little bit part of it. Both my mother-in-law and father-in-law grew up Catholic. They're both Protestant now, but it's still ingrained in them.
Gotcha.
Those principles.
Yeah, that makes sense. Well, cool. Well, should we take a break and get a refill? And
I'm down.
Okay, let's take a break.
Good old
and get
chocolate
a refill.
cold brew.
We'll come back to it.
Okay.
All right, part 2.
Part 2.
Segment 2. Welcome
More
back.
whiskey.
Yeah. Still, I don't know if you guys remember from previous episodes, but we had the Ugly Dog salted caramel whiskey, and I did just a cut with the Jameson, and
It's dangerous.
oh my god, it's
so dangerous.
it's actually really good. But yeah, that's a lot of alcohol, so I'm gonna go slow with this. But
Yeah, right.
Yeah, I wanna I wanna ask a question to you, Tyler. We were talking about kind of like the shit storms that we get into as business owners, but what do you feel like is the most difficult part about being a business owner? Like from all different aspects too. Like we're talking about like from business, from family, from personal, like what do you feel like are the hard things?
Well, it never stops.
Mm.
You know, my livelihood depends on me answering that phone. It depends on me showing up. It depends on me talking to customers, employees, etc. If I don't do one of those tasks, it won't work.
Mm.
So I always have to be on. If I'm having dinner and the phone rings, I'm paying for that. I might as well answer it.
Mm.
And my family dinner gets disrupted. If it's on the weekend, I got to take calls on the weekend. And it's pretty difficult, I would say, around like playtime. If I'm running around with the kids, wrestling them, throwing them, doing whatever, and the phone rings, that's super hard. Yeah. And it's hard for them too because they don't want to all of a sudden be done, but they know like daddy's got to work.
Yeah. Yeah. That is really tough. I would say the same thing for myself as well, as just always having to have my phone on me, constantly checking it. Like, especially if you're waiting for specific things to come through, if you're waiting for, in my case, content approvals, if you're changes or updates to something or a contract to get signed and you're waiting for that notification for it to get signed, like, or a client calls you out of nowhere and it's just like, oh, I know that they're having this problem. Like, I got to help them out with it now. Or even like, like today, we had this client that we do pro bono work for, and I got my head bit off in an email about like, you know, and it's like, it wasn't even my fault. Like it was all something that they fucked up internally, and they just weren't communicating with each other. But
and it's free
fault.
Anyways.
And it's free. It's like, hey, you're welcome to go.
Is it like a charity? What are you doing pro bono for?
It's a nonprofit that we were doing pro bono work for.
Okay.
The original hope was that it was going to bring leads in a certain industry that we're in, and it over the past year and a half that we've been working with them, it's brought absolutely nothing. So it's kind of like we said we're going to do this, you know, regardless of the outcome of it. Like we're going to continue, and it's always been good up until today. And then we had one person that I've never worked with before. He went off. That's one of those. That's where I feel like it's really nice to have a partner though, because like my partner was tagged on the email. And we were talking on the side, had a couple phone calls and be like, do you have any opinions on how we should respond to this? Because this is what I would like to say, you know? And he's like, well, this is what I would like to say. And I was like, okay, let's do it, you know? But then it's like, okay, realistically, can we actually say that? Or should we like, you know, try to nurture this? And, you know, so there's a lot of back and forth, but there's like a ton of emotional and investment, a ton of time investment into just responding to a couple emails. And you're like, man, I just wasted my whole fucking day responding to this email, and it's not even like something that we should have to be dealing with right now. It's somebody else's fault. So I feel like that's got to be really tough for you in those situations. If there's ever like,
I'm alone.
Yeah, you're all by yourself.
There are so many times where I have started to text back and erase. Write another text, erase.
Yeah.
Write another text, erase. Same thing. It'll take me sometimes an hour to respond. And in some cases, I'll just put my phone away, keep working, think about it, and then I'll realize I'll come down a little bit, you know, from that. Because I take it pretty personally. I want to do the very best, and I give it everything that I have. And so if somebody is upset with something, that makes me uncomfortable because I don't want anybody to ever be dissatisfied. And so I think the initial reaction for me is more of like, you know, pretty aggressive. Like, are you sure that's what it was? Are you sure this? Are you sure that? Because we were there and we didn't see this or that. And you never want to get into a customer about what they see in their house. That's always a lose situation. And I've gotten pretty good at it over the last year, to show grace and always, not necessarily that the customer's always right, but they're right most of the time, kind of a mentality, and treat them with that in mind.
Do you have a hard time with, because you, me, and Mark, I think the reason we click so much is because we're all very similar in the sense of excellence in our work. So when you have employees and you have your standard of excellence, they have their standard of pay per hour excellence. How does that disseminate down? Like, what do you do to try to get them to, see the reasoning and the why and the level of excellence that you have?
I mean, it's just a bag of shit. There's no way that you can convince an hourly employee to care as much as the business owner. There's no way. Unless you're going to pay them some level of commission where they have some level of stake, like, oh, if I do really good, I'm going to get an extra, 3%, 4%, whatever that is on this project. That's hard to do.
Yeah.
You can pay them, you can try to, get them to pay by the job, but if they mess up and they've got to go back, they're going to fuss because then they're not making any money. So I've kind of found myself settled into this position where, you have hourly employees and they're going to clock out at 4 sometimes when they should be there until 5. And there's more board to hang. There's more tapes, tape joints to cover, whatever it is. But you just can't control what other people do, even as a boss. I mean, you want to, but you can't. And with that comes a certain level of grace that you have to learn. Like, okay, you got your own personal things going on. Maybe you're exhausted. You couldn't sleep last night because of something, going on in your life. It doesn't matter what it is. But work quality can drop when things like that happen. And most often I'll step in and I'll do the work if I have to make it right. I'm not going to send them back for something that's going to take a half an hour or an hour. I'll just go finish it. And the customers usually appreciate that too.
I think that you'd be able to tell by my level of drywall experience in my own renovation in this house.
I've seen your drywall.
Yeah. I could never get hired.
It's a bag of shit.
It's a bag of shit. I would be your lowest paid employee for sure. And rightfully
you wouldn't be my employee. Hey, you wouldn't hire me to do your marketing for you either, so
probably not. No.
There's no reason to be offended over that.
No, I'm not. It's I've got enough self-awareness for that.
Yeah. And that's good.
So you're saying that, do you feel like even if someone had the same financial pay as you get as a boss, do you think that they would care as much? If it's not their name on that LLC or whatever, if it's not their name on that business, they don't own a part of it, do you feel like they would have the same level of care, even with the same financial compensation?
I would say that's a hard one to answer. Oh, Mally's coming back into the shot. How are you, kitty? You want to be the star?
What's up, cat?
I would say that it's possible. I think that depends on the temperament of the employee. You might find that you can pay somebody really high, but if they don't have like a strong will, or even like a sense of self-pride, then you're never going to get there. I think everybody's a little bit different in their own willpower and drive. If you meet somebody in your work life, you can tell, even in personal, outside of work, you can tell if somebody has a bit of drive. They're a little more aggressive. They're very direct. And those are the types of people that are worth paying more because they're going to be more detail oriented. They don't want the confrontation. They want to be the confronter. And so they're going to try to be as much above reproach as possible. And that, I think that would work with a person like that, where they will have the same care as a business owner, because they take it upon themselves to prove that they are worth that $60 an hour rate or whatever they're asking for.
Do your drywallers ask for 60 an hour?
No. Thank goodness.
So do you have employees or do you have like contract, like
Both.
subcontract?
My hanging crew is 1099,
Okay.
but my finishers are W2.
Interesting. Okay.
Yeah. And I've had some guys that start off as a W2 and then they want to switch to 1099, and that's totally fine. They start their own brand, they get a FEIN number. That's cool. It doesn't matter to me. I'll pay you however you want. I can do direct deposit either way. So it's just, doesn't matter. Some customers do care though. They don't want like a GC coming in and bringing in all these different types of people. And I understand that. Yeah. You're going to one company to get something done. You don't want a company to be paying another company, because you could be just going to that other company and be saving money.
Right.
So there are certain people that ask, are your employees W-2 or are they 1099? And I do have 2 guys on W-2.
Yeah, I've seen that. So even though I'm not in the industry, I market for, the trades industry. So I see the same things where there's a lot of back and forth, and some people, like you said, are like, I don't want any contractors in here. I want only your employees actually doing the job. That's interesting.
Well, the liability ultimately is mine. If anything were to go wrong, it's my responsibility. And I think that's another thing about having employees. They don't carry that weight. They know that they work their 9 to 5 and then they go home. They don't have to worry about anything.
Yeah.
When my employees go home, I have to worry about everything else.
Right.
I've got to worry if the customer's happy. I've got to worry, if the guys did a good job. I got to worry about collecting payment. If customers are aggressive, it's kind of uncomfortable. Maybe they don't agree with the price because it took too fat, like we did our job too efficiently.
No way.
Yeah, I have a customer right now. He's like, hey, I'm looking for a revised estimate because it only took you 4 hours to do the project and you figured it was going to take a full day. And so I have that task now. Do I make them happy and give them a half day rate, which is still within my, profitable margins, or do I hold them accountable and maybe possibly take a 3-star review because of it? And more often than not, I'll succumb, but there are certain circumstances where it's like, you know what? No, you may think that we only applied 1 coat of mud. We actually applied 3 coats of mud to try to fix the repair that you started. And the repair cost is to fix that, not for how long it takes, because sometimes our projects dry faster than others. I tell customers this: if it's wet out, the humidity in the air is higher, which means that the moisture in the mud, the mud has to dry and the moisture has to come out. If there's a lot of moisture in the air, the moisture can't come out of the mud as fast, and so it takes longer to dry. Same thing with cold temperatures. It dries a lot faster the warmer that it is. So if we have a really cold, snowy day, that's terrible.
Like today.
Yeah, today, especially because it's melting too, and all that moisture goes in the air. Stuff just doesn't dry. And so I might have to come back the next day where normally I would be able to sand the same day of doing a project.
I find that in marketing too, like in a similar situation where we have people that it doesn't matter how much I explain up front to people that, like, just because you start a TikTok does not mean you're going to be famous and you're going to get a ton of leads for your business. And I've said it so many times till I'm blue in the face, and they're like, well, this other guy does it. This is how he gets his leads. I want to do this. Be like, okay, well, here's your strategy that we've built for you. This will work if you can stay consistent with it, but here's some tailored expectations to your results. And then the strategy doesn't get followed. They don't send the content for the videos, so the content doesn't get posted.
Yep.
So the strategy goes out the window, and then 3 months in, they're like, where's my thousands of views? Well, they're back with all the rest of your content you haven't created yet. They don't exist. Like, what do you want me to do? And then he's like, well, I'd like to dissolve our contract. Be like, actually, you can't. It's not in the terms of the contract you signed. You don't get to dissolve it, But then, like you said, you're trying to feather, how your response is going to be. Do I say, you made a commitment, your name is on the dotted line, you knew the terms and the expectations when you signed it. The results didn't go your way because your lack of providing what your part was, not mine, and now you want out of the financial responsibility you put yourself in. No, sorry, but no. Like you have to stick to your word, which is on a contract. Now, there's all right, well, sometimes we'll say, well, instead of doing that, why don't we do something else for you? What else is your business struggling with right now that you can't get done that for the same amount of financial compensation we can do for you? And we can solve a different problem instead.
It's good. A good compromise.
It's a good compromise. It still frustrates the shit out of me.
Yeah.
Because I'm very much of like, what you say, like that's your word, that's your bond, that's as good as a promise to me.
Yeah.
If you give me your word, I expect it to be done exactly how you want it done or how you say you were going to do it. And if people sign legally binding contracts that I can take you to court for if you do not uphold your end, and then they just want to back out of it because it's not convenient for them, it drives me insane.
I am with you there.
As I'm sure you have service agreements that are the same way, right?
Yeah, I mean, it would be like a small claims court kind of a thing.
Right.
It's not as big as that. My projects aren't enormous. But yeah, I there with you. Yeah. Okay, so tell me a little bit about the upside. We've heard the shit. And there's tons of shit.
All the garbage.
We could go through episode after episode and tell story after story, and it would probably be very entertaining. But we've started a business. We've had our downs. Let's talk about your ups. I'm curious. You say that you took a pay loss. Has that turned around?
No.
No. So we're still in the shit.
Yeah. So funny enough, so I had a full-time job that I worked as a AV technician for a very large mortgage company here in Michigan, and I loved my job. I loved the people I worked with. The team I had was amazing. My boss was incredible. He's still a really good friend of mine today. And I loved my job. And it was the first time where I felt like I actually made like real money, like big boy money. Yeah. And I felt really good as someone who didn't go to college, and was homeschooled for high school. So I don't know shit. I felt like this, like, oh man, this is good. I've got full benefits, like a really good health insurance package. I got life insurance. I got like all of this stuff. My family's taken care of. I got a good stable job. And what wore on me though was the fact of like, every time I felt like I got a step further in my career, I would take 2 or 3 steps back. And whereas like, I literally was handed a promotion during the pandemic and I loved it. I loved managing half our team. I loved working with the people. I loved helping them grow in their craft and in their business. And I was thrown to the wolves because like our team leader left, and then his boss was like, I've got 2 other teams I have to run. I need you to handle half this team. And I was like, I would love to. That's amazing. Great pay bump and everything. And then they finally hired that position above me that was empty. They immediately came in and was like, we're going to take your title away. And I said, okay, fine. Take my title. Please let me have the responsibility. I love working with this team. I love helping them grow. You take this from me, I'm telling you, I'm going to be unhappy here. And he was just like, sorry, I'm going to do it anyway. The worst part is I fought for this guy to get the job. Yeah. Like his superior, which was the 2 positions up at the time, asked me my opinion. Should we hire this guy? Because he's like, I don't know if we should hire him. I said, he's a great fit. He knows the industry really well. I've worked with him a lot over the past couple of years because he was coming from a partner company. Okay. I was like, he's a great guy, great integrity. We need to hire him. And he said, all right, we'll hire him. And then the guy came in and removed me from my job. It's like, what the shit? So it was really frustrating. And that was the quick decline of happiness at that job for me. And it got to the point where I had this opportunity. We're merging this other company. I said, hey, I would love to leave my full-time job and do this full-time. Here's how much I need to make. And it was already a huge pay cut. It was like a 30-40% pay cut for me. Oh. And they were like, all right, we can do it. Let's do it. Jumped in, and then economy took a shit even more. And they were like, hey, we can't pay you that anymore. We're going to have to pay you even less. So like I probably make maybe half what I made 2 years ago. with zero benefits.
Yeah.
You know, because like I'm the partner of a company. Like we don't just have all this
business.
benefit. Yeah, this is it.
Yeah.
So like that in itself was really frustrating. But the upside to your original question is I get to work from home 100%. Yeah. I make my own schedule. If I wake up and decide that I don't want to work today, as long as my stuff's done, I don't have to work today.
Yeah.
You know, there's been times where like, you know, my kids have a little nature school that they go to, and my wife will take them and then she'll go off to work or whatever. So like there'll be hours at the house where it's just me. So like, fuck it, I want to play some video games. You know,
Call of Duty.
Oh, that's toxic, man. I don't play it anymore.
I don't do that anymore. I've played Call of Duty in 12 years.
That was the last time it was good. So
Modern Warfare 3.
Okay, Modern Warfare 2 I think was the best.
I'm saying that was the last one that I played.
Oh, okay.
I didn't own Black Ops or anything after Modern Warfare 3. I sold my console.
You play on PC now?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
You play RuneScape?
Yeah, tried and true. It's classic, nostalgic, man. And it's so, you know, while I'm working on stuff, it's so
chopping wood.
It's all AFK. You know, it requires like no input, and it just runs in the background. But you know what I like about it? You're always getting progress.
Okay.
You're like, you set goals, and it just takes time, and it just runs in the background, and then you hit those goals, and you set new ones, and it's always W's. There's no going backwards in the game, which is really nice. So they're like, no matter what happens, I always got a W.
Always got a W. Work shit, got a W in RuneScape. That's all that matters.
I really don't play that much anymore. Probably an hour a week, you know, if I think about it. I don't know. I just don't play it as much.
But yeah, for me, it's the control over time. I mean,
how about your family life? What do you think you've benefited from in your family life? I know that you can choose not to work. How has that impacted you and the girls? Is it better or worse? Because I know sometimes it can get a little angsty with me and the girls.
Yeah, I mean, there's definitely moments where, like, I mean, you're in a confined space, especially in the winter here in Michigan, where it's like nobody wants to go outside. It's fucking cold. But like, you know, you're in a confined space and you're with the same people over and over again. And, you know, you get a little cabin fever. Sometimes you get frustrated with each other. But one thing that I've been really adamant about over the past year and a half or so, even more so in the past 6 months, is just not outsourcing our life. Give
me an example of that.
So for instance, like we started homeschooling our oldest. And so I was frustrated with the progression I saw with the education system. Like I'd always like been frustrated with it. Even when I was in school, I was like, this is dumb. Like this doesn't make sense. These are all these other things I need to learn. I know that I need to learn as a human being. I'm not being taught this in school. And then you become a parent and you watch your kids go to kindergarten, first grade and second grade. And I'm just like, what in the hell are they teaching these kids? Like, and regardless of your political background or whatever, like what you believe should be taught or shouldn't be taught. And I don't understand how anyone could take a look at the education system and say, this is a well-functioning machine. It's an absolute shit show. Yeah. And so that to me, it was like, man, I don't like this for my girls, for my kids. And I want us to do this ourselves. I want to be able to have control over what they're learning and, you know, kind of help them create their own opinions on things. I'm definitely not the type of person who's like, you have to believe what I believe. You can believe whatever the hell you want to, but I want you to get there yourself. I want you to have the information or access to the information for you to be able to learn what you believe and know why and be able to explain it to someone. Like, I feel like that's a huge part of what's wrong with a lot of kids these days is they have this belief system that is handed down to them by, you know, whoever is in charge or whoever is a you know, figure in their life or their parents or their family, and they're just told this is what you should believe. And I think it should be more of a Socratic approach where it's like, this is what I believe, this is what we believe as a family, but you need to decide for yourself as you get older what your viewpoint and your stance is. And know why you got there and then the reasoning behind it. Like, you need to be able to say, I believe, whatever statement, and then have the evidence and the reason as to why you believe that, and not just say, I believe it because, it should be done that way, or it's the right thing. Well,
they should be able to reasonably articulate what's going on. I think I might have to disagree with you a little bit. I tend to lean more towards like, I'm teaching you, this is what life is, this is how to look at the world, and this is what you should get out of this. I definitely don't want, my kids are going to be homeschooled, and I think we'll talk about this. We'll have later episodes that go strictly into homeschooling. But I don't want my kids learning from other kids at like a public school. And I think that's what happens a lot, when you go to public school, is you have one teacher and 20 kids. And all these 20 kids come from different families with different backgrounds, different classes, different religious beliefs, and those kids are all talking, and that's really where the learning takes place. Your kids are learning what the world looks like from everybody else. And I don't want them looking at another family who I don't agree with their lifestyle choices and thinking like this is an option. So I would rather lean more towards, okay, we got you at home. This is the standard for how you're a good person. This is the standard to be a good Christian. And this is the expectations that we have for you. And if you follow these expectations, you're going to be successful just like mommy and daddy. If they're going to go and find education somewhere else, that's fine. And it's definitely greatly encouraged. Read books. But I don't want them learning from a secular culture, from the internet. I think it's kind of poisonous.
Yeah, we have like a set of rules, standards, or beliefs that we establish in our house. This is what our family believes. This is what this is the root of why we believe this. This is how we explain it. For us, our household is a Christian household. We believe in Jesus. We believe in God. We believe Jesus is the Son of God, and He died for our sins, and all of those things. We are a Christian household. We establish those same belief systems in our kids. Now, if they grow up and they decide, I don't want to do that anymore, they make their own decisions, their own person. Will that hurt? Yes. Because I want them to believe the truth.
Yeah.
But ultimately
they make those decisions themselves.
Have to make those decisions. But our moral belief system is rooted in Christian values.
Yeah.
So as you go out, how you treat other people, how you talk to other people, how you handle yourself in situations, what you act like when you're out away from your parents or when no one's watching, your integrity, like those are things that we are establishing in our kids, and what's okay and what's not okay.
Yeah. No, that starts early.
Yeah.
Really young. How old are your kids now?
4 and 7. My 7-year-old will be 8 in